Okay, good morning. So my name is James Mellish, and we've also got Kira presenting for us today.
Good morning,
Um,
everyone.
Kira is going to present on our graduate and undergraduate programs a little bit later on, but I'm just going to go through some of the information surrounding BAE Systems, who we are, and what we do. So this is just a brief look at what we're going to be talking about today. So we'll just have a brief introduction, what we do at BAE, and then as I said, Kira is going to go through our graduate and undergraduate programs, how you apply for our programs, how to get in touch with us, and just some tips and hints to apply. So in terms of who we are, so BAE Systems, we're in the defence sector. We're one of the biggest technology-led defence, aerospace and security companies. So we're really established in the military sector. We have big shares in the air, land and maritime service industries. And that is slightly out of date. So we currently employ just over 88,000 people in over 40 countries. And a lot of our customers are governments and military services from all around the world, helping them protect their national security with technology and infrastructure. So we've got our major sites located in the UK, the US, Saudi Arabia and Australia, with a number of smaller sites in different countries. So just a few facts and figures about who we are and what we do. As I said, we're a global defence supplier. We supply militaries and governments all over the world. We have particularly established positions in air, maritime, which includes naval ships and submarines, and land, which includes land vehicles and munitions. So we also have a big growing position in cybersecurity. So that's a big area of our business that we're currently developing. And this isn't specific to governments or militaries. We sell to general companies as well. So we have customers in over 80 countries currently. And as it says there, our sales turnover for 2019 was just over £20 billion. But the big one for graduates there is over 90 million was invested in 2018. And we invest the same amount annually in educations and skills programs. So this includes training, and this includes our graduate program as well. So in terms of how our business is set up, our big proponent of our business that makes up just over half of our business is the air sector. So currently this is about 52% of our business. So our big products are the Eurofighter Typhoon plane and the F-35 Lightning. They're two of our big products that we sell, particularly to places like Saudi Arabia and Australia. But we also manufacture training aircraft, support equipment, and training systems to help air forces all over the world. The next big part of our business, which makes up roughly about a quarter, is maritime services. So as I've said, this covers naval ships and submarines. So a big area of our business, particularly in the United States, is naval ship repair. But we also are involved in the design and manufacture of warships. So we were very involved in the design and manufacture of the HMS Elizabeth aircraft carrier that was completed a few years ago. But we're also involved in the design and manufacture of submarines for the Royal Navy, and some of the munitions and guns and ships, things like that, that are on the bigger ships. Land is quite a big part of our business as well still. So we design, manufacture, and we do upgrades as well to amphibious combat vehicles, and we also are big involved in the manufacture of ammunition and precision munitions. It says there one of the big ones is the manufacture and design of electric and hybrid electric vehicles. So we're actually involved in the manufacture of engines for public buses. So particularly in the United States, we have a lot of our engines in the public buses around the United States. And the smallest part of our business currently is cyber. But as I've said, this is a particularly growing area of our business. Obviously, there's an increased need for cybersecurity, and this is not just for militaries and governments, it's also for the commercial market. So we found that there's an increased demand by regular companies for an increase in defense grade cyber solutions and security. So particularly for companies like big banks, anyone who has to protect large amounts of sensitive data, we're finding that they're coming to us more and more to provide solutions for them. So if we just go through a few of the key products and services that we make, design, and upgrade. So as I said, the Eurofighter Typhoon is a big one, particularly for our Royal Air Force and the Saudi Royal Air Force, and the F-35 Lightning, particularly in the United States. We're also looking into unmanned and future air capabilities. So this is rather than manufacture currently, this is looking towards the future. So this will be part of our future capabilities teams in our air and other divisions. And a large part of our contracts are actually providing support and training to utilize the products that we've provided for the air forces. We also are involved in electronics, so quite a large part of our business is electronic systems. So this includes the defense electronics, as you see there, and we also are involved in commercial flights. So this is for BOE. We provide training systems and simulations for those sort of companies as well. Moving into the maritime sort of area, complex warships. So as I mentioned, the HMS Elizabeth was a big project of ours, and we do quite a lot for the Australian government, making large warships for those. And submarines we only make for the UK Royal Navy. So we've got our Astute class submarines, which are nuclear powered submarines. And then we have our Dreadnought class, which is nuclear submarines that are carrying nuclear warheads. Particularly in America, a big thing that we are involved in is naval ship repair and support. We also do it in this country, but a large portion of that is on the east and west coast of America. And as well designing weapon systems that go on some of the larger warships. We are involved in combat vehicles, so as you see there, the Bradley fighting vehicles. So we are involved in the design and manufacture of those, and increasingly cybersecurity, which is the design and manufacture of cybersecurity solutions. So this is a rough breakdown. So this changes obviously year by year, but our biggest market is the UK, followed closely by the US. We have a large site in Saudi Arabia, and then we also have quite a large representation in Australia. And as it says there, the rest of the world covers about 11,500 people across all the rest of the countries that we operate in. So I'm going to pass over to Kira, and then she's going to go through our graduate and undergraduate programs.
So we have a number of different graduate and undergraduate programs. So I'll go through the graduate programs first, and then we'll come on to the undergraduates. So our graduate program has recently changed in the last kind of year to 18 months, in that it's a scheme we call the Accelerate scheme. So when you come into our business, you will go on a 3-week induction program known as Immersion. Once you've completed your 3-week immersion programme, you will then be sent out into a role for an 18-month period. This role will be non-rotational, in that you do not rotate around the business, although there is scope to rotate around the team that you're in, so the department that you're in. For example, myself, I'm a safety engineer, so I rotate around the different safety departments within the business, but I do not rotate around all the different engineering departments. I stay kind of within the one overarching team. Throughout the 18-month graduate programme, you'll also be involved in what's known as our personal effectiveness modules. Now, these modules are set up purely to build on more your softer skills within your role. The technical skills will come out through your time in the role itself. You do get a lot of support from your line manager as well as your graduate lead, which will sit in central HR. So there is a lot of different support that you will get. If you do have any issues, you can go straight to your line manager, you can go to your HR early careers lead, or you will have a functional manager as well. So there is a really great support system for that. So that is our main graduate programme that covers most of our business units, whether that be naval ships, submarines, air, land, and these are spread all across the country. We do have more specific graduate programmes, which brings me on to the Finance Leader Development Programme. So the Finance Leader Development Programme is a 5-year scheme as opposed to the 18-month graduate programme. But within this 5-year scheme, you will obtain your CIMA qualification. I know that other businesses use different accountancy boards, or I'm not an accountant myself, so I don't know exactly what they are, but we use CIMA for our business. So during this time, you will have a 3-year rotation within 3-year-long placements, and then after that, you will do 2 placements in a more senior role once you've gained that CIMA qualification after year 3. Our industrial placements, we're going on to our undergraduate schemes now. So our industrial placements are 12-month placements where you come in the summer. Most of our industrial placement students will take a year out of university, generally following their penultimate year, and they'll go back for a year at university and then come and join our business, providing that they have gained a suitable level of performance throughout that year. Both our industrial placements and our summer internship give undergraduates the opportunity to go into their final year with a job in hand, so it does make your final year a lot easier. With the summer internship scheme, it's only a 12-week, so you'll have a 3-month placement. You are paid for these placements as well. There is a salary. We're not expecting you to work for free. So the industrial placement, you'll be on an £18,000 pro rata, but obviously it's over a year. Same with summer internship, except it's £16,000. So we break down the graduate opportunity, but we'll break down the rewards and benefits. So the Finance Leadership Development Scheme, as I say, is a 5-year scheme. You will start on £30,000 a year. You have the option to have an advance of 20% of your salary. You will get a £2,000 relocation package paid in your first salary packet. For the Finance Leadership Development Scheme, we do require a 2-1 minimum degree. However, this does not have to be in a finance-related degree. This scheme is open to anyone willing to take part in the scheme. It doesn't have to be specific to finance. So don't be put off if you've got an engineering degree or nothing related with finance and accountancy. You will learn all that while you're on the scheme with us. The graduate programme, however, we only require a 2-2 minimum degree classification. And as I say, we do have roles for more or less every degree type, I suppose, across the business. Generally, again, we're not picky as to what degree you have, except if it's for a specific role, for example, an electrical engineer or a naval architect. We obviously do require a degree that is in this field. For the graduate scheme, you will start on a £28,000 a year salary, and you will get the same welcome payment as you do with the finance leadership scheme. Again, you've got that advance of 20% of your starting salary in advance should you need to, and we've got some other benefits such as a car lease and share scheme. What I should mention is that the graduate roles are generally open all year round now. Because of the change in our graduate scheme, we now have 3 intakes throughout the year. We have one in September, one in January, and one in June. So our graduate roles tend to not close we tend to not close our graduate applications. However, the roles do change and they do have deadlines. So if you do see a role that you feel would be most suitable for you, we do recommend that you apply as soon as possible, because like I say, we do have the right to close our applications early if we do have enough uptake. The rewards and benefits for the industrial placement scheme, as I said before, we only need a 2-2 minimum degree. It's the same with the graduate scheme, and if you're doing a finance scheme, we do need a 2-1 minimum degree. As I said before, the industrial placement is £18,000 a year, and £21,500 if you're doing a cyber security role. Summer internships, as I say, 12 weeks, 2-2 minimum degree classification, and you require a 2-1 for the finance, and you will get a £16,800. Oh, so that's went up since the last time I did it. Yeah. So the recruitment process is fairly straightforward. You'll have your initial online application form. You will then be sent a link to do some online tests. If you are successful through these online tests, you will then be invited to do a video interview, which is a pre-recorded video interview. It's not over Skype. Following the video interview, if you are successful, you will then be invited to do a face-to-face interview. At the minute, due to COVID restrictions, we are doing these face-to-face interviews over Skype or over the telephone. Just some online tips about the application. Tips about the online application. We advise graduates to think carefully about the opportunity they are going to apply for, as we only allow one application per applicant. You cannot apply for multiple roles. We advise you to use plain English, give full details of the degree and modules that you've done, previous work experience. I was asked this question this morning. If you are wanting to talk about the skills you've gained in work experience, we do recommend that you talk about both the technical skills and the soft skills that you've learned throughout this experience. And make sure you've filled in every single section of the application, as if there's any gaps in it, we will not be able to progress your application further. If you do wish to do some online tests, we have these links on the screen here. You can either take these down just now, or you can these slides will be available later in the day on our James, help me out here. On our booth? That's what I'm looking for. So they'll be available on the booth, so you can go through these slides and use these links for the online tests. There are also some examples of the video interview questions. You can have a look at these in your own time. With the face-to-face interview, we have a wide variety of question types. We do use a strengths-based interview, in that the interviewer is not able to interpret a question for you. However, they can repeat the question. The whole point behind the strengths-based interview is to see how the applicant interprets the question themselves. There is a couple of competency-based questions at the end, just to see how you cope with the more technical questions. And we have some FAQs here. So is there any questions that we've got in our booth?
Nothing at the moment.
Nothing at the moment?
No. Do you want to move on to the next slide to advertise the panel session?
So in a couple of weeks' time, we've got a panel session with some of our leadership team. Fabian Little, who's head of the UK Graduate Programme, Gregor Thane, who's our Global Learning and Development Director, Steve Robinson, who is our Graduate Development Lead for the UK, and Catherine Tennant is Head of Strategic Workforce Planning. So all of these 4 panel members will have a short presentation at this session, but the main idea behind the session is that you can get all your questions asked straight from the horse's mouth. So if you want to use this, if you do want to attend this event, you can use the link below. If you email graduateprogrammes@baesystems.com, and they will get you signed up. Places are limited, so if you do wish to attend this event, we would recommend that you book your space in early. And that's just a link to our careers website, and just to let you know that all of our roles are now open. And you can get in touch with our customer support team at gart@baesystems.com or via our social media platforms.
Yeah, perfect. So, Nisha, feel free to join for the Q&A.
Hi there. We've got a bit of a technical difficulty, but I'll just jump in while we're waiting. This is Ellie from Rate My Placement. Thank you so much for going through all of that. That was really, really interesting. What I would say as a first question is going to both of you. James, what's your favourite thing about working at BAE?
It might be strange, but finishing at 1 o'clock on a Friday. It's really great to have literally that almost extra half day. So there's a big focus on work-life balance, and until you sort of have that, you don't realize how much of an impact that it actually makes on just like your positive mental well-being and just your enjoyment of the rest of your work week. If you know that you can get sort of all of your work done before Friday morning, sort of working hard throughout 4.5 days, and then just getting that extra time back to do whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, so important, work-life balance. I know, yeah, it's a good way to keep you motivated when you know you've got that flexibility. What about you, Kira?
I would say probably the fact that everyone's so open. Within BAE Systems, there's a real big focus on an open door policy, even up to director level. I've had a lot of interaction with directors and at the minute have them on a day-to-day basis. So it's really easy to just send an email, give someone a ring, and there's no focus on their role or the hierarchy. It's really easy just to pick someone's brain and ask any questions. No question's a stupid question in the eyes of our company. So that for me has been really good.
Really nice.
I'm back now. Sorry, it has some technical difficulties, so I can take over now.
Brilliant. Over to you, Nisha.
Thank you. Hi, James and Cara. Thank you so much for that presentation. That was really useful. So I've been looking at some of the questions. So to start us off, what are your core values and what makes you stand out from other firms, do you think?
I think definitely, as I've said, the emphasis on work-life balance. One of the things that we brought up there earlier was the amount of money that we spend on training and development. So one of our big things of our graduate scheme is the importance of personal effectiveness. So I'm really a big fan of these. So they're scattered throughout your graduate program. And it's just a way to develop the soft skills that I don't think many companies typically emphasize. They want you to have, but I think they want you to develop them throughout your day-to-day role. And obviously some people, particularly if you're in sort of engineering or a very specific function, you might not get the chance to develop those. So putting a big emphasis on development of the person as a whole rather than just developing technical competences is something that we definitely encourage.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I'm just going on from that. I mean, what's the culture like to actually, like, on the day-to-day work?
I mean, it's quite difficult to say now because obviously
Yeah.
we're working from home. But when you get into the office, it's very much it's different for us because we're in submarines. So our different areas of our business operate differently. So air is more sales focused. So there's more of a busy atmosphere, whereas in submarines we only have the one customer, which is the Royal Navy. So it's less of a sales focused atmosphere, and more of a sort of a technical competence and providing sort of evidence-based approaches and reporting periods. So I tend to work on like a monthly basis. So it's some weeks might be a little bit less busy. Some weeks, particularly towards month end, are sort of a bit more frantic. But I mean, there's always things going on around you. So it's quite an immersive kind of atmosphere, I'd say.
Absolutely. I mean, I must be very excited working on submarines.
I would also say that there is a real focus on graduates developing softer skills. So we're encouraged to take on what is known as a stretch assignment or several. And it's every line manager is very encouraging that you do take these sort of assignments on, whether it be kind of volunteering in the community, working. It could be more technical in that you do something within like engineering as a whole.
Yeah.
And develop a process or something like that. But it can be something as little as I've taken on tutoring for some of our higher apprentices, things like that. So we are really encouraged to take on those sorts of projects, and you are allowed the time to go and spend a decent amount of time on those sorts of activities, as well as your day-to-day role, which is obviously very important. But managers are very understanding of the fact that the point of this graduate scheme is not just to develop your technical skills, but your softer skills as well.
Yeah, so lots of extracurricular activities you can get involved in. So I've got a few questions coming in from the audience. And to start us off, it says one of them is, could you be based anywhere in the UK during the placements for the Finance Leader Development Programme?
Yes. Yeah. Generally, you apply for the role and it'll tell you where you're applying to. It's not as if you're applying and we just put you anywhere. You will know where you're applying to. There is an opportunity at the end of the application to state that you are flexible, and in that case, you may be put somewhere else. But if you're not, then you will know where you're applying to. But there are roles available across the country for the Finance Leadership Scheme.
Brilliant. And I got a question from Elizabeth, who said, are you interested in risk management students or industrial placements?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, particularly in project management, there's a big area for risk managers. That's quite a large area of project management, and quite an area that people specialise in. So particularly if you're doing that sort of degree, we'd be very interested in the project management industrial placement for you.
Brilliant. And there's another question from, are you interested in law students too? And
we will have a role for more or less every single degree discipline. The role might not necessarily be for a lawyer, but if you want to apply that to a commercial role or a procurement role or an HR or business operations role, that's absolutely fine. We don't discriminate with degree disciplines at all. And as I say, unless it's something like a naval architect, we don't want law students for that. But totally with business operations sort of roles, absolutely.
Brilliant. And there's a great question from Kira. She said, due to COVID, how has this impacted current graduate and placement students in terms of things like remote working and personal development?
So at the minute, not all of our graduates are working from home. The majority of them are, but not all. If you are carrying out a role that has to be on site, then as per the government guidelines, you are allowed to be on site. So that is happening. But for myself, I'm working from home and we are still having our personal effectiveness modules that we would have had, but just doing them remotely.
Yeah, and it's changed well, hasn't it, now? And I think, Gary, you mentioned about the application process. When do the applications open for industrial placements and close?
They should be open just now, and they should close early February, I think, James. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, so the industrial placements, the closing date is the 1st of Feb, but some of them have already closed because we've had enough applicants, and some of them are going through the process. So basically, if it's for any of them, graduate or undergraduate, they're still on our website. It means they're still available to apply for. But in general, they will all close on the 1st of Feb, the undergrad ones.
So it's really about getting those applications in as soon as possible.
Absolutely, yeah.
Don't miss out, yeah. Brilliant. And you did talk about the application process, and one of the questions I had, you talked about, the students talking about their experience, their work experience. Is there any work experience that you would, suggest that the students do before they apply, or is it very open?
Any work experience is great for us. Like if you've got technical experience in the role that you intend to do, then great. But if not, even things like part-time work or voluntary work or anything like that, definitely BA would look upon favourably.
Yeah, lovely. And you also mentioned that you have a strengths-based interview. Is there any advice that you'd give to students in preparing for that?
I would talk about as much variation in your life as possible. Generally, it tends to be kind of questions around, like, tell me about a time when you did this or you did that or this happened to you. If you can talk about and engage with as many different aspects of your life as possible. So even if it's things like a sports club, or you answer one question about university, one about a voluntary work, one about a club that you're a part of, something like that, the more variation you have tends to work out more favourably. If we've got a candidate who continually talks about this one particular module that they did at university, that tends to get a bit dry.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And another question that I think has been always coming up is, what do you actually look for in a standout application? And is there anything you advise students, you'd advise against, students to put on their application too?
I don't think there's anything that we said would outright be not to put on. I think the big things for us is highlighting the key skills that you've learned. So that's a combination of education, so the modules you've taken at university, and anything you've learned from either work experience or, like Kira said, sports clubs or sort of other clubs. Big things like that might not seem important when you're a student. We really look forward to and we really like in applications, such as if you're part of a club, an extracurricular club, and you're the chair for it, you organise social events, things like that might not seem significant to you, really show that you've developed the skills that we want to see. The big thing for our business is bringing in graduates who enforce and want to bring about change. So showing that you can organize yourself, bring up new ideas, bring things new into a club or something along those lines. Pretty much anything that you can highlight from either your work experience or your education that has shown that you developed sort of skills that we want, in terms of being able to communicate with people, working as part of a team, things like that, are really useful.
Yeah, that's so important. I mean, with all these experiences, students can gain so many transferable skills that they can really use in their application and showcase how great they are, essentially. Cool. We've got another question. So how long does the application process take from sending off the application to getting an offer?
In my experience, it was a couple of months. I don't know about you, James.
Mine took a little bit longer. So just because of the security clearance. So I think I applied in April and I got my firm offer in the beginning of September. But then you have to go through sort of advanced security clearance, which does take a little while after that. but it depends which role you're applying for, whether it's undergraduate or graduate, and then what, if you're applying graduate, what intake group, whether it's September, sort of January or June.
Great. And I think it's a question for both of you. I mean, what made you apply to BAE Systems? What was the big appeal in BAE Systems particularly?
For me, it was just the project management aspect. So I did a sports science degree, so nothing even sort of remotely related. And I was working at a school doing exams management, so I was able to use the skills that I wanted. I'd never really heard of BAE, to be honest, being a sports scientist. So I did some research around it, and it was just cool to be able to tell people that I was going to work on submarines. So we have a really sort of diverse range of products that we work with, and they're all really interesting and sort of future technology based. So it's really interesting work, and being able to utilize the skills that I already had.
My experience was slightly different. So I have a chemical engineering degree, and I have gone in. I knew the role I was going for. I went for a safety engineering role, which does form the basis of a chemical engineering degree. So I applied for a summer internship back in 2017. I was successful, went and did my first summer internship placement and was offered a graduate role. But I still had 2 years left to go to university, so I took on another summer internship placement the following year, and then again was offered a graduate role the following year. So I have had 2 summer internships plus nearly 2 years on the graduate scheme as well. So I knew exactly what I was going for, but it's really great, and I suppose we do have a lot of returning summer interns and industrial placement students, which I think probably speaks volumes of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you've got all those students returning, which is brilliant. Another question is, what's the work-life balance at the firm? I know you both are in 2 different areas, but do you find it's okay and you can manage both?
It's really easy. We work on flexi-time contracts, so we can, as long as we start we start by 9:30 and we finish after 3:00. We just fit in our hours as and when it suits us, really. Obviously, we've got meetings and stuff later on or earlier, then you are expected to attend those meetings. You can't just decide I'm not doing that because I'm decided I'm not working that early. But generally speaking, it is really easy to. So if you've got something to do that evening, you could leave at 3:00. And then work a little bit later another day. And as James says, we only work a half day on a Friday. You can work longer if you want to tie that into your hours as well. But it's really, I think the work-life balance is really easy. We can also have up to we have half an hour to up to an hour and a half of a lunch break as well. Just depending if you want to go out and if you need to have a doctor's appointment or something like that, you can run out on your lunch break and not have to rush and get back. So I find it's really, really easy to work around whatever I've got going on outside of work as well.
Yeah, I think they should apply that to everyone. I think Friday should be a half day for all businesses. Brilliant. So I've got time for one last question, and that's it. So for students, what is a typical day in the life for a student, especially for an undergraduate student, if they were to come and join? Is there anything specific that they would be doing?
At the minute, there's actually not much difference, and I think this is a positive. You are treated like one of the team. You're not treated like you're an undergraduate student, so therefore you're not getting any half decent work. You're given work that is expected of an engineer. You will get additional support if you require it, and they will support you to complete any assignments that you've got, but they don't tend to. Well, in my experience anyway, I've never been singled out as a graduate or a placement student, or I've just been another engineer. In fact, one of the engineers said to me, "Are you still on the graduate scheme?" the other day. And I said, "Yes, I am."
Yeah, so it's very, very inclusive, and they're trying to brilliant, make you grow. Well, that's it. I think that brings us to a close, but I just want to say thank you so much for all these great insights into BAE Systems. Are you going to be on your booth later so the students can come and chat to you?
Yeah, we'll be on all day.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, well, there we go. Well, thank you very much and have a great afternoon.
Great. Thank you so
Thanks
much,
very much,
everyone.
Nisha.
Thank you, Nisha.
Thanks.